Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and for the first time this year to Garage Gossip. Now if you are new to the channel or would like a reminder, in these videos I will pick out a rumour, sometimes 2 or 3, go over what it claims and give my thoughts on it all. Essentially a good old fashioned F1 Word waffle. And for this one, it's all about Mercedes' 2022 driver dilemma. Every year, it feels like one team holds the key to the driver market, and this season is no different. But with the likes of McLaren, Ferrari, Haas and Aston Martin having drivers tied down to contracts, and even talk that Alpine, Red Bull and AlphaTauri could be set to stick with their current lineups, the 2021 market isn't expected to be quite as volatile as we've seen in previous years. However, with a team like Mercedes potentially having 2 seats available, that could all change. Ultimately, whilst we obviously can't know for sure how competitive each team will be next season, they have won both championships in each of the last 7 years and are in the fight again this year. Whichever way you look at it, whether they've got a contract in place or not, a move to Mercedes will still be a tempting prospect for many drivers. The thing is, though, it's looking increasingly likely that only 1 seat will open up, and that could already be filled if we pay any attention to the gossip columns. Let's start with that, and Lewis Hamilton, the world champion, didn't put pen to paper on a new deal for this season until February, and both parties have been pretty clear they do not want to leave it that long to decide on their future together this time around. And with Hamilton indicating that he wants to stay on with Mercedes for 2022 and the team keen to do the same, it is starting to look highly probable that the Brit will be staying put. There are even some reports claiming he is set and happy to take a pay cut from any new deal. So according to those reports, Hamilton is set to sign a 1-year extension with an option for 2023 soon, and that Toto Wolff wants all that sorted by June 15th. That is today, by the way, if you're watching this video as it goes out. So we could hear something this very weekend. We'll see. It's all rumour, of course. And at the end of the day, until it's announced, you never know. And maybe he will call it a day at the end of the year, but let's assume Hamilton stays. Like I say, it certainly looks and feels like that is set to happen. The big question then becomes, who will be his teammate? It will come as little surprise if I say that Valtteri Bottas and George Russell are the front runners for that second seat, and there has been some talk lately that Esteban Ocon is back in the frame. However, with Alpine apparently keen to keep him for at least 1 more year, and the fact he has already been overlooked at least once for that drive for Mercedes, I just cannot see that happening. Yes, he's had a good start to the season, but I think this one is 100% between Bottas and Russell. That said though, the rumour mill seems to think that the decision has already been taken. According to Sky Sports F1 in Italy, yes, I know, reports in Italy, but anyway, the team has decided not to renew the Finns deal following a difficult start to 2021, and that has been backed up by F1 Insider, which alleges that Toto Wolff has let George Russell's management team know that the Brit will be taking Bottas' place for next season. Gotta say, I'd like to have heard that conversation because basically Toto manages George, so did he just phone himself and put on a fake voice? I don't know. I joke, of course. I know it's not just Toto Wolff who manages him, there's a whole team behind him. But back to the point. The report goes on to add some quotes from Helmut Marko. Please stay with me on this, with him saying that Russell to Mercedes was the only logical step, and added that Bottas, quote, need not call us, there is no space, and he believes the only option for the Finn is a return to Williams. Somewhat unsurprisingly, Williams does want to keep hold of Russell, with Jos Capito making it clear that Mercedes will be the ones making the decision, but I'm sure they'd be happy to welcome Bottas back if he wants to, and that experience could be a huge benefit to them when you consider all of the changes coming for 2022. Experience that Mercedes would still have if they kept Lewis Hamilton and brought in George Russell. So losing Bottas on that front wouldn't be as detrimental as, say, losing 2 massive experienced drivers. That is what the rumours say then, but is it really game over for Bottas at Mercedes, and is Russell really going to get the call-up? Well, first of all, if Merc does decide to let the Finn go, there is no doubt in my mind that Russell will take his place. And whilst we can't always believe what we read on some of these sites, I do believe it's likely that will be for 2022. Look, you probably know what's coming. For the millionth time on this channel, Bottas is a good driver, and I don't think many people will deny that. He has also helped the team to bring home the Constructors' title in each season since he joined in 2017, and has backed Hamilton up very nicely for the most part. However, the back end of 2020 wasn't exactly spectacular from him, and the start to 2021, albeit not all of his own making, hasn't exactly been great. In fact, it's been downright terrible. 47 points from the opening 6 races and 6th in the standings is not great at all. Again, I know he's had some bad luck along the way, and when it's all gone more or less to plan for him, he has picked up some good results. 3 third-place finishes, in fact. but in a tight fight with Red Bull, those bad weekends could cost the team the title, at which point it's very difficult to keep arguing that he's doing the job he was employed to do. The other thing to consider as well is that Russell's contract is up and he wants a long-term deal wherever he ends up next. And there comes a point, where Mercedes will have to either let him go or finally give one of their young drivers a chance. They ditched Wehrlein, they more or less ditched Ocon. Are they going to do the same to Russell? Actually, can they afford to do the same to Russell? He's a good driver with a ton of potential, and as we saw at Sakir last season, he can challenge with the best of them at the sharp end. Yes, he ended up 9th in that race, but don't forget that prior to all of that chaos and the pit stop madness, he was leading, driving well, and doing a great job at handling the pressure. And if they do keep Bottas and let Russell go, who's filling those seats when inevitably Hamilton retires or Bottas does move on? That's what I mean by can they afford to let Russell go? He is still young and is only in his 3rd F1 season, I completely get that. And there are those who argue that he hasn't really shown anything to warrant a move to Mercedes, but I disagree with that pretty much completely. Again, look at Sakir prior to the chaos. Topped FP1, his first session in that car after a couple of days' notice. He topped FP2, qualified on the front row and was just a few hundredths off his teammate, a teammate who had been in that car all year and in that team since 2017. And as I said a moment ago, he was leading the race and in control. He's also dragged that Williams out of Q1 so often that it's not even a surprise when it happens anymore. And whilst it's difficult for us to know for sure how he's performing given he has only really been up against his teammates, he seems to be driving and developing very well. He's learning his trade, cutting his teeth, finding his feet, whatever term you want to use, all in preparation for a promotion, if you want to call it that, to Mercedes. Now, of course, I'd never deny this. He's made mistakes. You may blame him for the crash at Imola this year. There is no one to blame but himself for crashing under the safety car whilst in a points-paying position at the same track last year. And there have been other errors, and sometimes from potential points-finishing positions as well. The thing is, though, isn't it expected that a young driver cutting their teeth at the back of the grid will make mistakes? And surely the most important thing is how they learn from them and recover from them. Surely that's all that matters. Making those errors at the sharp end after several years in the sport is not really acceptable, but I think it's really harsh to come down too hard on young drivers when they make silly mistakes. That said, it would be remiss of me not to make mention of them, and missing out on those points could well have cost Williams some big prize money. It is a tough one because there is an element of risk when it comes to changing a driver lineup which has for the most part worked very well. And Mercedes, as a team, they do not like taking risks, do they? And taking a young driver from a backmarker, however much you believe in them, is a gamble. But I believe Russell is more of a calculated gamble than, say, putting Ocon in that car for 2019 would have been. He's shown some serious potential and speed and is clearly the driver Mercedes is backing long-term, or at least hoping to back long-term, kind of like he's seen as Hamilton's natural successor. But he's going to need time to settle, to find his feet and to get up to speed at the very front of the field. But the only way he can do that, and the only way Mercedes can know for sure if he is the right man for the job, is if they give him an opportunity, give him that chance. There's only so much he can show and so much he can do at Williams. And don't forget as well, who better for him to potentially learn from than a 7-time world champion, maybe 8-time champion come 2022. Anyway, as is always the case with these garage gossip videos, I'm rambling, that's kind of the point of these, so let's wrap this up. If I were Toto Wolff, I'd get Hamilton signed up for 2 more years and partner him with Russell for 22 and 23. And then if he delivers, make him number 1 driver when Hamilton retires. Perhaps I'm being a little harsh, just dismissing Bottas like that, I don't know. And it's got to be said, with the big regulation changes for next year, maybe sticking with him is the sensible thing to do, or the safe thing to do at least. But I firmly believe there is a reason why he has only been getting 1-year extensions lately, almost as if Mercedes is waiting on something. And that something looks like being when Russell is ready, we'll move him up and move Bottas out. And kind of going back to what I was saying a moment ago, what's the point in spending a ton of money bringing young drivers up through the motorsport ladder if you're never going to give one of them a chance, especially a driver so highly rated by those in and around the Mercedes Junior program? Do I believe the rumours? No, not entirely, because I don't think you can. I think some points have been exaggerated. For example, is Bottas really going to want to go from Mercedes to Williams? I doubt it, unless Williams can show him something to convince him that they will make a big step forward. But I do believe that things have changed for him at Mercedes. I said it a couple of weeks ago, there seems to have been a negative shift in the relationship between Bottas and Mercedes. Look at how he spoke out about strategy after Bahrain. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but he's not usually that critical that early in the season. And then you've got Toto Wolff coming out and critically pointing at the Finn missing his pit marks in Monaco. Something just doesn't feel right, and maybe he knows the writing is on the wall. Maybe he's been told already. But I do absolutely hope he finds a seat somewhere if and when he leaves Mercedes. All of that said, it does feel like now is the right time to give George Russell a chance, and I absolutely would if it were down to me. And for the record, I do not think the switch will be made mid-season. I would be absolutely shocked if it was, so I fully expect Bottas to see out the year. But what do you guys think? You can let me know your thoughts on the Mercedes driver dilemma in the comment section down below. And yesterday on Twitter, I put this question out there in a poll, and 78% of those who voted believe the 2022 Mercedes lineup would be Hamilton and Russell if the decision was theirs to make. Interestingly enough, 9.4% would go with a whole new lineup, 7.5% would keep it as it is, and just 5.1% would go with a lineup of Bottas and Russell. I feel like I should call this section the word on the tweet, but that's absolutely disgustingly awful and so cheesy it fits perfectly for the channel. But anyway, Ash would quite like to see Mick Schumacher and Lando Norris take the seats. Fair enough. Unbiased F1 have gone for Hamilton and Gasly, arguing that the Frenchman is more ready to race for Mercedes than Russell is at the moment. Depeche agrees with what I've said about Mercedes needing to start thinking about the future, and CS Smith has gone for Hamilton and Ocon. So many different views on this one, but I've got to give a super quick shout out to Jamie Santos, Nico and John T, who all reckon Stoffel Van Dorn should be given a shot. Great shout, and of course you are all spot on, even if you are all being massively sarcastic. Maybe they're not. Maybe, like me, they genuinely do believe that Van Dorn is a very good driver. That is it for this one, though. And although I won't always do polls and what not to use at the end of videos, I might start putting them in the YouTube community section rather than on Twitter, so keep an eye out for those in the future. Like I did today, I will try and do some odd shout-outs just to try and build some more community spirit back into the channel, because it's been lacking of late, there's no doubt about that. Now, I will be back on Thursday with the French Grand Prix preview, but in the meantime, if you did enjoy this video, then please do leave a like, as it really does help out the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.